My name's Adele Onyango, and welcome to another episode of Legally Clueless. No, seriously, I have no clue what I'm doing, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Hey you, welcome to this episode of Legally Clueless. Here's what's coming up.
So my mom was lying on a couch and I remember her telling me, she said it in Swahili, I'm going to say it in English. She said, I hate you and I can't even hide it. It didn't do anything to me really. I'm 10. The things that my mom has said that have never left me. One time she said that she would rather have given birth to a basin. I felt like I was a mistake. My mom made me feel like I was really a mistake. One of my sisters last year told me that there's nothing that she's waiting for. She just wants to die. Why? Because of my mom. I know that she doesn't hate me. It's just that probably her way of loving and showing up for her children is very different. It might be the best she did, but not enough for me. And that's okay. And that is really okay.
That's Emma. And before we get to her story, first and foremost, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, welcome to the family. Episodes like this go out every single Monday. You can also officially join our family by subscribing to our weekly newsletters. Just go to legallycluelessafrica.com. That's our website, and a link to it is in the show notes. And you can also join us on TikTok, Instagram. We're at Legally Clueless Africa. And if you want to share your story on this podcast, it doesn't matter if you are in or outside of Kenya. As long as you're African, you've got a story and we want to hear it. Fill out our storyteller form and one of our correspondents will get back to you. So before we jump into, if you're an OG member, goodness, I've got nothing but love for you. Welcome back. Before we get to Emma's story, though, how are you doing? I really and truly hope you're doing well. And I hope you're doing everything you committed to doing that's going to help you be your best self, And if in that journey you have fallen off on a few things, this is your reminder that happens. That's normal. And it doesn't mean that you should quit. You can start again. So if it's a savings challenge that you're doing and you fell off the bandwagon, you can get back. Yeah, you can pause and you can get back. If it's some health habits, maybe it's a fitness regime, or maybe you were meant to subscribe to a particular diet and you've fallen off, don't worry. You can start again, right? You can start again. This is your reminder to start again. Now, in this episode, you are about to listen to Emma's story that really unpacks mother wounds. There's a powerful way in which Emma just allows herself to feel the pain or to feel the heavy feelings, whilst also seeing her mom as a human. I find that when we do those two things, it's quite powerful, And she does mention suicide and self-harm in her story, which I know can be triggering to some. So you may want to pass on this in case you are not in the space to listen to those themes. But right now, let's jump into Emma's story. 100 African stories on Legally Clueless. Stories from Africa.
My name is Emma Wambwe. First of all, I am a believer and a follower of Jesus Christ. I am a sister, I am a daughter, and I am a friend. I think it's very important for me to say where I come from. I come from a small village called Korogocho slums. It's somewhere in Nairobi. My journey has been a ride. It has been such a tough ride for me. Every time I tell of my story, I go back to this very moment because that is where everything began. So I was around 11. When I talk about it, every time I talk about it, I see it in my head. So my mom was lying on a couch and I remember her telling me, she said it in Swahili, I'm going to say it in English. She said, I hate you and I can't even hide it, right? So it didn't do anything to me really. I'm 10. So I just went outside and played. The effect of those words started manifesting way later after high school. The relationship of my mom and my other siblings, I saw it was very different from mine. Very different from mine. And true to that, we used to live with my grandma in our compound, and my grandma would also see and also attest to the hate that she saw in my mom towards me. I'll never forget there's a man who had a shop outside, and he would always tell my siblings that I have it tougher than they do. So it was different. I saw it. It was different for them. For me, they had an easy time. I felt my mom was very strict to me. I did not even have friends growing up. My relationship with my mom, even as a young kid, let me tell you a very funny thing. The memory I have of my mom, there's this one that has stuck. And it's not a good memory. It's the both of us fighting. I was a short girl. I'm in the bathroom and she wants me to wear something that I did not want. So it was just chaos. When I think of that moment, it explains the kind of relationship my mom and I have. So it's chaos, it's drama, there's no peace, there's no unity. So we have never been close with my mom at all. My dad, on the other hand, he was the one that I was very close with. I always thought that my mom hated me. And I would see it in her actions, the kind of things that she would say to me. They were very mean things. My mom did not allow me to have friends. As a young girl, until today, I do not have friends in Korogocho. My friends are from outside Korogocho. So my mom was strict. I don't know, she just made me feel like I was a mistake. There were so many rules. I was beaten. I feel like my mom, she took every chance to just beat me or speak very ill of me. And not just to me. She would tell people outside. She would go outside, tell neighbors about me, about the kind of mistake that I did. As you're growing up as a child, you expect a parent to guide you, to show you things. As a girl, if maybe you're getting your periods, you talk to your mom, tell her, right? Things like that. You ask her, this is what I'm experiencing, what do I do? It was never like that with my mom. So I remember this one time when I did a mistake. I was cooking and then I did it wrong. Mind you, she has never taught me how to cook at all. But when I did the mistake, she scolded me, said nasty stuff to me, and went outside and told people outside. So when I go outside, people ask me, why did you do that to your mom? Why are you making your mom sleep hungry? You made a mistake in your cooking. Now your mom did not eat that food, and now shame started crippling in. We had such a bad relationship because I did not feel safe with my mom at all. At all, at all, at all. I did not want to be close to her. I just felt extremely unsafe with her. That's how my relationship with my mom has been. So I will stay indoors and just be with my grandma, make stories with her. Or there are times where I got disobedient and sneaked outside and brought people in. I brought two boys in, other kids in, because now I'm not allowed to go play with them. So I think for me, my mind as a child was like, okay, maybe I can call my friends in from school and if my mom sees that, then she's going to like accept it. I remember one day I've always been such a dramatic kid. Until now, I'm still my friends can testify. So I remember I would grab my peers then. We're very young. So I would grab them and be like, just come home, just come home. And they used to fear my mom. So when they left, they didn't stay they didn't stay around for long. So when they left, my mom would still have problems with me. So how I coped, I just stayed on the inside. I just stayed inside in bed or with my grandma. Until today, you will find me in bed if I'm not doing anything. I will stay in bed. My friends will call me and be like, get out, go and get some sun. But it's because I have been like that ever since I was a kid. If I'm not outside, I am in bed. And that is how I used to survive. That was my coping mechanism. So in bed and with my grandma. All right. So I remember it very clearly. I was in the bathroom, and then so that was my first time getting my periods. And I was like, okay, so what's going on? I was very hesitant to tell my mom. She was in the house, but I was very hesitant because remember, I do not feel safe with her. You cannot, until today, you cannot just talk to my mom about anything, right? So I was very hesitant, and there's a part of me that was very fearful, and I was not sure if I should talk to her about it.
I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'm so glad that you're part of this family. We're taking a small ad break, but we'll be right back. And now, back to the episode.
And so I called her and I told her, I've experienced this in the bathroom. I don't know what's going on. And all she said was, now you will get pregnant. That's all she said. She talked about pregnancy. So I did not understand what was happening. So I'm experiencing this where you're telling me I'll get pregnant. Why will I get pregnant? I took myself through the whole pad thing, how to wear my pad. My mom didn't show me that. Thankfully, in Karagocho, there are there are projects where you'll find people coming together, organizations where they talk to kids about their periods and they teach them how to wear pads. That's where I learned about periods and about sex, not from my mom. My relationship with dad was very great. I did not tell him. I think I really did not think about it. It was because my mom was in the house and I was in the bathroom. So my mind just went, who is the next person? Who is the person next to me right now, physically? And that was my mom. I never told my dad. We never talked about it. I didn't even know that was something that you can talk to your dad about. Now it's when we are seeing these things where you can talk to your dad, you can talk to your mom. But then, no, I did not know that I can talk to my dad about it. However, my grandma had noticed. My grandma had noticed, and I remember she used to tell me, and she used to bug my dad about me going to a boarding school. My grandma was the only one who understood what was happening. Now I can see what my grandma was seeing. Then I did not see it. I just knew that my mom doesn't like me, and that was that. And my person then was my grandma. So yeah, we used to spend a lot of time with my grandma. So I never told my dad about it at all. I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew. So I really wanted to go to boarding school when I was in class 6, but that did not happen. I went to boarding school in high school. In high school, this is now after my dad had died. Yes, because my dad died when I was in class 8. So in high school, it was me, my mom, and my siblings. So in high school now is where the weight of what my mom started taking shape, taking form. So because my dad is not around when I'm in high school, now I'm left with my mom, and that is scary for me. That was scary for me. So I felt alone because my dad was not there, and my grandma also was not there because my grandma died 2 months after my dad. Yes, and it's very funny because I remember my dad and my grandma, before my dad was shot dead, they were telling each other, if I die today, if you die today, mom, I will die tomorrow. And my grandma will tell my dad, if you die today, I will die tomorrow. And that's exactly what happened. Well, not days after, but months after. So in high school, I do not have a dad, and I do not have a grandma that really, really loved me. Here is where I grab my tissues because I can literally feel the tears. They want to make okay. So my dad was shot dead. It was 2011 March, the first week of March on a Wednesday. I still remember it. That day, my dad was supposed to be in the house, but I started bugging him. There's something I needed for school. So in 2011, I'm in class 8. So there's this whole preparation of the exams. So I needed my birth certificate. There was something about my birth certificate that needed to be worked on. So I asked my dad, are you going to leave the house today? He said, no, today he's just in the house. And I've always been stubborn. So I told my dad, but I need that thing today. You need to work on that today. So after a back and forth, my dad finally decides to get up, prepare, and head out. So my dad used to work in a place called Andorra dump site, the whole plastic business, recycling business. So he needed to pass through there. That is when he was shot dead. So what I have never told people about is that policemen were hired to kill my dad. They were hired to kill my dad. There was a case that took so long in court that my mom finally decided, you know what? There's no reason for me to pursue this because he's never going to come back. In Korogocho, where I live and where I have been, the gunshots are very common. It's not something that will throw you off your seat. No, because we are used to it. So that day I remember hearing the gunshots. I was in the house. I heard the gunshots, but because it's a normal thing, I said, well, in fact, people actually make jokes about it. And when they hear gunshots, they're like, hey, those ones they're killed. Wamemalizwa, like they're finished. They are finished. So that day, I just had the gunshots and I went on about my day. I did not know that those bullets went straight through my dad's body. And there were a lot of bullets. I know there were a lot of bullets because I saw them. Back then, my dad used to be a very close person to Ferdinand Waititu. And this is how I know that there were so many bullets. It's because Waititu held them in his hands. As reporters were they were doing their thing, he held the bullets and the bullets were in both hands. There were a lot of bullets. And I couldn't just believe that all that went through my dad's body. Till today, when I see a policeman with a gun or when I am watching a movie, I cannot watch a movie that has too much of a gunfight because I get really anxious and I start to remember that time. And I'm like, okay, so that is how my dad was killed. That was the pain that he went through. So, and my dad did not make it. So it was him and another friend of his. And so I blame myself. It has been very hard. I blame myself because if I had not bugged my dad to go outside, then he would be here with us today. I've always been such an intuitive girl. Wednesday, 6:30, 7:30 p.m., I started seeing people coming in. There was this soap opera called Don't Mess with an Angel, and I was sent to the shop. And I remember telling God, please don't let it be what I'm thinking. Because I saw one of my uncles, and I'm like, first of all, we are not so close. What are you doing in my house at 7:30 p.m.? But it turned out they had brought the news that my dad had been shot dead. And so that first of all, I felt numb, very numb. I remember I went to what do we call taro in English? And I went to the corner of that trench and I sat there and I did not say a word. I just kept quiet. I did not cry. This this is also going to be the very first time I'm saying I'm saying this. My dad was a thug before. Yes, people people don't know that. He, why am I laughing when I'm talking about thugs? So he was a thug. I know that because he made me carry guns. Yes, and I've never said that before in public. He made me carry guns. I was very little, and he would wrap it with a newspaper and put it in my school bag because who's going to suspect a girl who who's carrying a school bag? And I would transport it from Karagocho to Dandora. It's not so far. It's like a 5-10 minutes walk. I say this without any shame. My dad had transformed. He was getting out of it. But then again, that happened. So I am not so sure if it had anything related to the thug life, or if it was really about the business, because the story that I was told is that it was because of the business he was asked to give way. If you ask me what business, honestly, I don't want to sit here and lie. I do not know. But the thing that makes me believe that he was innocent is that there was a case going on in court. You cannot go and start to. I've not seen it before where people are fighting for the rights of a thug who was, you understand, there's this guy who was I'm not so sure if he was like a chairman or something, part of the human rights. He was light skinned. I think he was a Muslim. He was the one who helped us with that case. So that's why I say that my dad could have been innocent, because if he was not, then I don't think people would have, the human rights people, they would not have pushed so much about the case to get justice if he was on the wrong.
I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'm so glad that you're part of this family. We're taking a small ad break, but we'll be right back. And now, back to the episode.
So that is the day that my dad died, and I did not cry, so I was very numb. And it affected me a lot because in school, in primary school, my mom would be called and she'll be told, your child is not okay. So my mom would just be like, don't cry, it's going to be fine, you're okay, it's okay, you just go on with your education. When I get to high school now, because now it's many months after my dad has passed on, now it's just my mom and I. Ooh, my mom and I. It was chaotic. It was very bad, to the point I will not stay in the same room with my mom. Now, because I am with her, now I start to remember all the things that she had told me, the very statement that she made that she hates me. So in my mind, I'm like, now I am left with the person who hates me. Is this my mom? I would be in this room. So we lived in a 2-room. So I would just do anything to avoid my mom. I did not want any problems. I would do anything to avoid my mom. It was constant scoldings. There's a time my mom said, there are things that my mom has said that have never left me. So like that, she hates me. And there's this one time she said that she would rather have given birth to a basin. And these are phrases that parents throw about. They think it's not a joke. That thing, if it takes hold on you, it breaks people. Something very simple like you're very stupid. It might be nothing to someone else, but it might affect someone greatly, greatly, greatly. So I remember when I was in high school, so many times I thought of talking to my principal and asking her if I could just stay behind every time we would close for the holidays. But that was impossible. So I never asked, by the way, I never asked. After high school, now I have to constantly stay with my mom in the house. I will die. That is what I was thinking. And now that is when things really started getting dark. They really got dark. So I'm with someone who I call mother, and she is insulting me every day. I mean, even if I was on the wrong, there's her words were very heavy. Her words were very heavy. I felt alone. I remember feeling so alone. It was dark. I felt like I was in a dark room. And because I'm in a dark room, I cannot make a step. So I do not know where to go. So I'm standing still. I felt bounded. I felt like I was in like Lazarus was. So who was bounded. So I would stay in bed for such a long time. I would not shower. I was crying. I was crying. And I knew something was wrong. I just did not know what was it. I was not eating. The longest I've gone without showering has to be 5 days. This time I was in Rongai, and I was waiting. I wanted to cross the road, and then there was this lorry that came. So I almost fell down because of the. So when it passed me, there was this great wind, and I almost fell down because I had now then begun to, like, my weight was going really low. I was like 43. That was very low for me. If I show you my pictures, you laugh. I was very small. So my days were very dark. I felt like I was a mistake. My mom made me feel like I was really a mistake. I used to think, legit, I used to think that God brought me on this earth to show people how someone can be hopeless. And I believed that. I believe that God brought me here to teach other people a lesson that I am. If you want to see hopeless, then look at Emma. I felt worthless. I got to an interview. There's an interview that I was in. In that interview, there was a psychologist. She's called Dr. Kendi Ashitiva. She's usually on IG. I don't even think she can remember me, by the way. So she noticed marks on my hands because I used to cut myself. That is what I resorted to. And let me say this before I forget. The very first time I did it was when my dad died. So I'm not crying. I'm not numb. I just know that there's something. There's a shift. There's a shift. What is happening? So after we buried my dad, so my sister walks in on me with a knife on my wrist. So I stopped it, but there's still a mark till today. I do not know. I don't know where that idea came from. So from the wrist now I started doing my hands, my arms. So I would cut both hands, and I started little by little, and I was like, this actually helps. It helps me feel better for a moment. So I think I'll just keep at it because I did not have a place where I could pour out what I was feeling. I did not even understand what was happening to me. I just felt like I wanted to die. Please, God, just take me. So I get into an interview. I met this psychologist called Dr. Kendi Ashitiva. I hope I'm really saying her name right. And she notices the marks, and she gets really concerned. She talks to me about a place in Kenyatta Hospital called Youth Center, where they take in people under the age of 24. I hope I'm right. Under the age of 24 for free therapy. So in my head, I'm just like, okay, yeah, I will go. To be very honest, I went there for vibes. Like, I was like, okay, it's because she took my number and she had talked to someone else there. So I was like, okay, fine, let me just go. I'm just cruising. Me, I'm like, you're sending me where? It's okay. Me, I'll just go. So I went. I met a psychologist called Susan. So Susan starts talking to me. After she talks to me, she gives me a paper to, like, write something. It was questions, so I was just answering. I didn't not think much about it. After a few minutes, so Susan takes me to a room. In that room, I see people walking with coats, white coats. These were doctors. In my head, I'm very relaxed. I'm like, okay. So they sit down and they surround me, and I'm like, what is going on? So there was this social worker who talked to me, and she was like, Emma, we really think that we need to take you to a hospital. And I asked them, a hospital? And they said, yes, Mathare Hospital. First of all, me, the way I know Mathare, please. I smiled, baby. I smiled. I was like, Mathare. Hey, these people are, what? Are you taking me to Mathare? I told them I'm not crazy. And they're like, no, 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 no. They're like, no, no, no. We're not saying you're crazy. It's a Mathare hospital. By the way, let us tell you, it is just a hospital like any other. In my head, I'm like, from being told to come and just get checked, now you guys want to take me to Mathare. So I told them, no problem. I think I can come in tomorrow. I was not going to come back. I was not going to go back. So I told them I can come back tomorrow, and they said no. They're doctors, so their experience, they know when someone says they'll come back. No, after I've had Mathare Hospital. So I told them. So they refused. They're like, no, no, no. Is there anyone that we can talk to? In my head, I'm like, God, I beg. I cannot give my mom's phone number. My mom, that one will just roast me on this phone call. So I gave my aunt's phone number. My aunt was reached. She was told that your Emma Wamboy has been taken to Mathare Hospital. I was put in an ambulance. That is how bad it was. Other than being suicidal, wanting to die, is that I had become homicidal. Homicidal is where you have these feelings of killing someone. I am changed, please, in Jesus' name, please don't be scared. And me going to that hospital, that Kenyatta Youth Center, that was the beginning of now things had started to change. But before that, I was in a relationship that really triggered me. Let me now explain to you why these people are like, you need to go to Mother, like right now. I was in a relationship. I was dating this girl. I loved that girl. And she was going to propose. So this girl I was in a relationship with, she was about to propose. We had talked about it. Me, I was settling down with a woman. Me, I would have been, I will not be single right now, by the way. So things happen, and then now she doesn't propose. She breaks up with me. That was chaos. That is what triggered me a lot. A lot, a lot, a lot.
I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'm so glad that you're part of this family. We're taking a small ad break, but we'll be right back. And now, back to the episode.
So when I went to the hospital, they find out this girl is homicidal. So I started thinking about killing this girl because she had broken up with me. I do not know how to survive. I do not know no other person has loved me before. So I had these thoughts where I kept on thinking how I'm going to hurt her, how I'm going to harm her. So this is why the doctors were very concerned. I really think I was in my own world because I was very comfortable telling them, even in that paper where I was writing, that the psychologist had given me. That is where they were like, we need to take this girl in now. Now. So that was what led to the doctors making that decision that they needed to admit me to Mathare Hospital right away. So I was put in an ambulance because I was in a terrible shape. I had a razor blade in my pocket. I was walking with a razor blade because that is what I used to cut myself. They put me in an ambulance. I'm taken by the head nurse in Kenyatta by then. I don't know if she's still there. And we get to Mathare Hospital. In my head, I'm like, you're overdoing. Relax. I did not see how serious it was, by the way. So I get to Mathare, and then I'm admitted at Mathare. My mom started coming to the hospital to see me. By the way, she was very committed. There are days where she walked from Korogocho to Mathare. There are days when she took her loan to just come and see me. All this time, I'm not even in my head. I'm like, no, she doesn't love me. No, there's nothing like that. She's just doing what a mother is supposed to do. In that hospital, Mathare Hospital, first of all, is wild. I thank God that I went there. So I'm put under medication and then therapy once in a while. I was just in my own world. And I remember this nurse telling me weeks later, because I was in Mathare Hospital for 1 month and a week. And this nurse comes and looks at me and she is like, Emma, hey, if this is you, then there is God. You actually look better now. I thought that was healing when I was at Mathare, taking the drugs and therapy once in a while. I thought that was healing, and I thought that, after I come out of this place, then that's okay. I did not know that real healing was waiting for me on the outside. It was waiting for me on the outside. It was tough also getting out of Mathare. What happens after Mathare is that I am told that I now have to do regular therapy every week. It was on a Wednesday, I think. So I was asked to choose between Mathare and Kenyatta Hospital. Guess which one I chose? Kenyatta Hospital, because it was not me that was going back to Mathare Hospital. After what I saw, no. So after Mathare is I need to therapy and medicine. First of all, antidepressants are like 1,000,000 shillings. They're so expensive. They're very expensive. So while I was at Mathare, this psychiatrist, by the way, diagnosed me with MDD. It's major depressive disorder, and I also got diagnosed in Kenyatta with general anxiety disorder. So after Mathare now, I have to do therapy. I have to take medicine. I come from a very humble background. Antidepressants is not something that is going to be easy for us. But I got someone in Mathare. I met a lady who called me, and she's like, "You're very pretty. What are you doing here?" So this lady took my number. My phone had been taken by people in Kenyatta, so she took my number and told me, "Call me when you get out." So I call her. It was a few days after Mathare, I think 2 days after Mathare, being discharged from Mathare. So I called this lady, and she's like, "Come home." She was very easy. She was like, "Yeah, Emma, how are you? I've been trying to call you. Come home. My daughter is coming home soon from Nakuru. You guys can link up." In my head, I'm just like, this woman is crazy, because what if I kill you? You're not afraid. You've met me in Mathare. You want me to come to your house. So after Mathare, I go to their house, and they get to learn now that I'm from Mathare, I need therapy and I need antidepressants. So that is where now they come in. They come in to support me financially, and the daughter supports me heavily emotionally. The daughter, I mention her name everywhere. She's called Susan Joroge. So I meet these people, and they help me through that period when after being discharged from Mathare. It feels like they were there outside waiting for me. It's as if God had placed them there to receive me, because they're the ones who walked with me that season after Mathare Hospital. So I stayed with them in their home in Kikuyu. They used to really treat me well, cook for me. The daughter, so from Kikuyu to CBD is quite a distance. So she'll make it to town 7 a.m. for my therapy days. 7 a.m. she's in town. She takes me to Kenyatta Hospital. She waits for me for like 2 hours, 3 hours for my therapy to get done. So these are the people. Now this is my period after Mathare Hospital. I get the support system, heavy support system. So they're able to buy me drugs, therapy, semi-transport, lunch after therapy. I was soft life era, by the way. That was my soft life era, because I did not struggle. I wrote my mom a letter asking her for forgiveness, because I had this knowledge that my mom did not like me. In my head, I'm like, me too, I will also not like you. So I did things to just really upset her. I would steal from her. How would I say this? But I would steal from her. Yes, I would steal from her just to make her mad, because you hate me too. So let us hate each other. And I wrote my mom a letter, and I was like, "I've wrote you a letter, mom. Please tell Bilha." Bilha is my younger sister, but I'm not sure if she's the one who read my mom the letter, because my mom is not able to read. Yes, my mom is not able to read, so she never went to school. And I say that not to shame her, just say that so that people can understand. So she was not able to read. So I told my mom, she was doing laundry, and I told her, I'm stepping outside. I've wrote you a letter. And my mom was I could see her worry. Maybe she thought I was going to like throw myself or kill myself. I was like, "No, relax, I'm coming back. But I've wrote you a letter. Please let so and so read it for you." I am not so sure if they read it, but I'm sure one of my sisters read it, the one I gave it to. We are so many in our house, so I can't even remember who I gave it to. In the letter, I had told my mom to forgive me for every wrong thing that I had done. And I also told her that I do not know how to love her, but I'm learning. I want to start learning how to love her. But we did not really reconcile. When I came back, I did not ask her if she read it. No, I did not even want to get to it. We did not reconcile because we really did. I don't want to say we reconciled because the things that used to happen when I was young, they were still happening. So that the insults were there. The insults were there. Sometimes I feel like my life is not working out because of the things that my mom says. Today, my relationship with my mom is in a, it's okay. It's not good. It's okay. At least we are able to like sit down and laugh just a little bit, have a silly conversation, but not the deep, serious conversations, because my mom still today throws those big, big words, those insults that really affect me. And now I see that it's not just me. I see that also to my siblings. One of my sisters last year told me that there is nothing that she's waiting for. She just wants to die. Why? Because of my mom. Because of the things that my mom keeps saying. And this is why I really, every time I see parents, every time I have an opportunity to talk to a parent, I just let them know that your parenting, it will have an effect on your child's mental well-being. So we did not reconcile with mom, but we're in a place, we are okay. We are okay. We can talk. I know that she doesn't hate me. It's just that probably her way of loving and showing up for her children is very different. It might be the best she did, but not enough for me. And that's okay. And that is really okay. I do not hate her at all. I love her.
Catch more African stories in the next episode of Legally Clueless. That is an incredibly vulnerable and powerful story. First, I just want to thank Emma for just opening up and sharing so much with us. I understand that stories help us learn things about ourselves. They help us feel less alone. They help us feel connected. But at the same time, it's such a huge gift, someone gives us in the form of them opening up and just bearing their hearts and their story with us, So that, first and foremost, thank you, Emma. I think there are 3 things that came to mind when I was listening to Emma's story. One, I really want to do an episode of the Midweek Teas, which goes out on Wednesdays, where I just kind of share my thoughts with you in a very raw, unfiltered fashion. I share resources that are helping me in my wellness journey. And I really want to do an episode sharing the personality traits and habits I learned because of living in an unpredictable environment in my childhood. There's one that I identified with in Emma's story, even though our experiences were so different. But when she spoke about loving having friends over or guests over, I was like, girl, that was something I definitely had to work through, I think she felt safer when her friends were over because maybe her mom behaved in a less aggressive way when there were guests around. For me, I felt that the possibility of my dad beating my mom when guests were around was so much lower. So I loved when we had people over, and I just would feel so scared when they were leaving because I was like, oh no, now we're vulnerable. We don't have bouncers, you know what I mean? And it carried on into teenagehood. I had a relative who I felt was kinder to me when guests were around or when we were out in public. And so home stopped being a safe place, well, until now, and I'm 1 week away from turning 36. Until now is when I feel safe in this space that I call my home. I had to learn that there is safety in silence, I had to learn how to be comfortable being alone. And this was all pretty new to me. I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I'm so glad that you're part of this family. We're taking a small ad break, but we'll be right back. And now, back to the episode. That was the first thing that came to mind. The second is kids never forget your words, They never forget what you said, even when you meant it as a joke. I'm not saying that's what the situation was with Emma's mom, but just as adults, when we are around kids, we need to be aware of what we say and how it sticks and stays with children. You know, they could take it as something else and it could end up being something that destroys them because they will carry your words into adulthood. And so some intentionality is needed there. The third thing, which I feel was my most important takeaway, is that there's still good people in this world. You know, the mom and daughter duo who helped Emma financially and emotionally when she was navigating therapy and getting antidepressants, etc. They are good people in this world. And it's easy to forget this, especially because the nasty people are so much louder. And I think our brains are wired to spot them and to spot nasty experiences or like hang on to nasty experiences more. But there are really good people still around in this world. I would love to hear what resonated with you in Emma's story. So on whatever platform you're listening to this on, drop a comment. I love to read through your comments. And lastly, thank you so much for being part of this family. I truly appreciate you. And I truly believe that you have everything it takes to heal. That's it for this episode of Legally Clueless. You can share this podcast with your friends. You can keep it for yourself. I'm not judging. Just make sure you're here next week for the next episode.